Greetings to you, Crocodile Army. I've mentioned the anti-vaccination movement in a couple videos before, but current events have convinced me that it's time to do a more comprehensive take on the topic. We have an Ebola epidemic that has killed over 2,000 people and is spreading across Africa now as a vaccine is being researched. I was involved in a Doctors Without Borders charity event over the weekend. Apologies to those who tagged me for the Ice Bucket Challenge, and I do think ALS research is a worthy cause as well, but I gave the $100 to Doctors Without Borders instead. The charity works in developing countries to bring medical care to those who don't normally have access to it, and I wish they'd come up with a catchy fundraising campaign too. Splash a little lukewarm water in your face for Doctors Without Borders. Then along came PETA. I've normally seen PETA as a somewhat strange, sometimes alarmist, but mostly harmless organization. Now I'm beginning to reshape my thoughts on that. A few months ago, PETA put out a campaign entitled "Got Autism? Learn about the link between dairy products and the disorder." This bit of sensationalism was clearly intended to grab headlines and get people to decrease their consumption of dairy, and thus our use of animals as a food source in general. It was an ugly example of an organization apparently using an ends justifying the means philosophy to get people to do what they want. Unfortunately, this tactic has a side effect of, I believe intentionally, giving people the idea that dairy products cause autism, which was not even what the two very small studies cited were saying. This now just adds to the pseudoscience cloud around what we've had to deal with for years since the Wakefield study from the likes of Jenny McCarthy and other celebrity armchair doctors. Many of you will be aware of Wakefield and his conviction for fraud. Do you know what he actually did, though? Anti-vaxxers will tell you he was the victim of a witch hunt by big pharmaceutical interests, but that's total nonsense, as anyone with knowledge of the case can tell you, and his medical peers confirmed. He not only falsified multiple aspects of the research and massaged his findings to show a vaccination-autism link, but we actually know why he found it so important to get the results that he got. He was personally paid 400,000 British pounds, which is over $600,000, by a group of lawyers who wanted to sue the makers of the MMR vaccine. He never disclosed this rather important piece of information. Though he's now barred from practicing medicine, his 1998 study was a major seed of the pseudoscience conspiracy theory that is propagated around the internet today. Once the body count of all the people who die from vaccine-preventable diseases is tallied up from the spiderweb of people he convinced that vaccines are harmful, he could be one of the biggest killers in medical history. Of course, we don't know what the final tally will be yet because they're still dying. It would probably help you to be armed with a couple arguments against the anti-vaccine forces. One of the most popular arguments, if you can call it that, is that deaths from these diseases were already going down when the vaccines were introduced, and therefore we don't need them. It's true that deaths were dropping, but not to post-vaccination levels, and of course the reduced rate of contagion and deaths simply reflect improved handling of epidemics, better sanitation, and just better medical care in general. Air travel makes it easy for diseases to spread all over the world in days, so that won't reduce risk to a level I'd find comfortable, as we've seen with so many clusters of childhood diseases cropping up among the unvaccinated. Another specific claim about a vaccine is that Gardasil, for instance, has killed 32 people, supposedly. This is another lie that takes statistics from the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System from the CDC and makes false conclusions about causes of death. It's easy to see how this is done. They basically are saying, well, there were 32 unexplained deaths out of 10 million people recently vaccinated. Yep, must have been the vaccine that killed them. The internet is a great place to spread ideas both helpful and harmful, and the Wakefield study and its ripple effects are still being felt today, in the US, Europe, and in Africa too, where these ideas about vaccines, along with superstitions about the origins of disease and mistrust, ripple through the population, causing Ebola treatment centers to be attacked by angry mobs. The conspiracy theories spawned by this and websites like Mercola and Natural News are leading to fear of modern medicine and are putting you and your own families at increased risk. It's worth speaking out about this, so if you're comfortable with challenging anti-vax nonsense you hear, please do it. Unless you don't mind adding measles and whooping cough back to the list of first world problems.